Commander Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold glass of Luna Station's main window. Far below, Earth spun slowly in the darkness of space. But Jake was not looking at his home planet. His eyes were fixed on something much more interesting. 2.5 million kilometers away, an alien ship waited in the empty space between Earth and its moon. The ship was beautiful. It looked like a silver needle that caught the light from the sun. The aliens inside had been sending messages for 3 days now. They wanted to talk to Earth's leaders. They said they came in peace. Jake had seen the same thing 17 times before. 17 different alien ships, 17 different species. All of them polite, all of them peaceful, all of them asking for the same thing. Another perfect bunch, said Dr. Lisa Carter as she walked up beside Jake. She carried a tablet computer filled with data about the alien ship. Lisa was Earth's top expert on alien minds. She had studied every species that had come to visit Earth. Too perfect, Jake replied. He turned away from the window and looked at Lisa's tablet. The screen showed neat rows of numbers and charts. Everything about the aliens looked normal. Their ship was clean and well built. Their messages were polite and respectful. Their technology was advanced, but not threatening. Dr. Ben Hughes looked up from his computer station across the room. Same energy patterns as always, he called out. Clean fusion power. No weapons that we can detect. Standard diplomatic signals. Lisa shook her head. They're exactly like all the others, Ben. Perfect ambassadors from a perfect civilization. It makes me sick. Jake understood why Lisa felt frustrated. For over 20 years, Earth had been playing a secret game with every alien species that approached their solar system. The aliens thought they were making first contact with a primitive human civilization. They had no idea that humans had been watching and testing them all along. The truth was simple but shocking. Earth was not the helpless planet that most aliens believed. Human technology was far more advanced than anyone in the galaxy knew. Earth had spies scattered across dozens of star systems. They had weapons that could destroy entire fleets. They had shields that could protect their planet from any attack, but none of that mattered as much as the test. Admiral Karen Stone walked into the command center. Her uniform was crisp and clean, but her face looked tired. She had been running these tests for 15 years. Status report, she said. The Zephyrians are holding position at the designated coordinates, Jake replied. They've been broadcasting standard first contact protocols. No deviation from the pattern. Karen nodded. She had heard the same report 17 times before. Any signs that they know about our real capabilities? None, said Lisa. Their scans show they think we're still using primitive nuclear fusion and basic radio communications. They have no idea we're listening to their private conversations. This was always the most important part. Every alien species that approached Earth thought they were meeting a young civilization that had barely learned to travel between planets. They had no idea that human ships had been exploring the galaxy for decades. They did not know that humans had already met dozens of other species and learned their languages, their customs, and their weaknesses. Ben pulled up a new display on his screen. I'm reading their internal communications now. They're discussing how to approach these primitive humans without frightening them. Karen almost smiled. How considerate of them. The aliens always thought they were being kind by approaching slowly and carefully. They believed humans were like children who needed to be protected from the shock of learning about life on other planets. It would have been funny if it was not so predictable. Ma'am, said Jake, should we begin the test? Karen looked around the command center. Dozens of technicians sat at their stations, all waiting for her order. Hidden throughout the solar system, automated systems were ready to activate. Ships disguised as space debris were prepared to move into position. Everything was ready. The test had been designed by the smartest humans on Earth. It was simple but effective. Every alien species would face the same situation. They would have to make a choice. That choice would tell the humans everything they needed to know about the aliens' true nature. "What do you think, Lisa?" Karen asked. "Are they going to be different from the others?" Lisa looked at her tablet again. The Zephyrians were still broadcasting their polite messages. Their ship maintained a perfect orbit. Their behavior was flawless. "I doubt it," she said. "They looked just like all the rest. Logical, efficient, boring." "Then let's see what they're really made of," Karen said. She walked over to the main control panel and placed her hand on a red button. "All stations, prepare for test initiation." Around the command center, people began pressing buttons and flipping switches. Lights turned from green to yellow. Computer screens filled with new data. In the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, machines that had been sleeping for months began to wake up. "Test systems are online," reported Ben. "Automated mining station is ready," called out another technician. "Emergency beacon is prepared for broadcast," said a third. Jake watched the displays as all the pieces moved into place. Somewhere in the asteroid belt, a fake mining operation was about to have a very real emergency. The Zephyrians would have to decide what to do about it. "All systems green," Jake announced. Karen pressed the button. Test initiated. Far away in the cold darkness of space, the test began. 3 hours after Admiral Karen Stone pressed the red button, emergency signals began screaming across space. The distress call came from the mining ship New Denver, which appeared to be broken and drifting near a large asteroid called Series 7. "Mayday! Mayday! This is the New Denver," the message repeated over and over. "We have suffered a major hull breach. Life support systems are failing. 23 crew members on board. We have maybe 6 hours of oxygen left. Please, anyone who can hear this, we need immediate rescue." Dr. Lisa Carter watched her computer screens as the fake emergency unfolded exactly as planned. The New Denver was not really a mining ship. It was an advanced Earth vessel disguised to look old and primitive. The 23 people on board were all volunteers who knew they were part of a test, but their acting was perfect. Even Lisa, who knew it was fake, felt worried when she heard their desperate voices. "The Zephyrians are responding," reported Dr. Ben Hughes from his station. "Their ship just changed course. They're heading toward the asteroid belt at maximum speed." Commander Jake Morrison nodded with approval. "How long until they reach the New Denver?" "At their current speed, about 45 minutes, Ben replied. This was always the first part of the test. Every alien species that had approached Earth had responded to the emergency call. They all sent rescue ships. They all tried to help. It was encouraging, but it was also expected. Any civilized species would try to save people in danger. The real test was much more subtle. Lisa switched her attention to a different screen. This one showed a much smaller signal, barely visible, among all the noise from the main emergency. Hidden in the shadow of Series 7 was a single escape pod. Inside that pod was Chief Petty Officer Ryan Kelly, one of Earth's most experienced test pilots. Ryan's pod was sending out a weak distress signal. The signal was so faint that most species would never notice it. Their sensors would be focused on the big emergency from the New Denver. They would save the 23 people on the main ship and consider their job done. But the escape pod was the real test. "Is Ryan ready?" asked Admiral Stone as she entered the command center. "He's been in position for 2 hours," Jake replied. "His pod's life support is actually damaged, just like the signal says." "We wanted to make sure everything looked real." Karen frowned. "How damaged?" "Nothing dangerous," Lisa assured her. "He has about 8 hours of air left." more than enough time for the test to finish. The Jeffreyan ship reached the New Denver right on schedule. Lisa watched as their rescue teams deployed with impressive efficiency. The aliens had brought multiple small ships and dozens of rescue workers. They cut through the damaged hull of the New Denver and began pulling out the human crew members one by one. "They're good at this," Ben observed. "Look at their coordination. No wasted movements. No confusion." The Jeffreyan rescue teams worked like a machine. Within 30 minutes, all 23 people from the New Denver were safely aboard the alien ship. The humans were taken to medical facilities, where alien doctors began checking them for injuries and radiation exposure. Lisa had to admit she was impressed. The Zephyrians had responded faster than most species. Their equipment was excellent. Their medical care was thorough. They had saved every single person from the New Denver, but they had also done exactly what 16 other species had done before. They had focused on the obvious emergency and ignored everything else. "Ryan's pod is still broadcasting," Ben reported. No change in the Zephyryan response pattern. Jake shook his head. Another perfect rescue that misses the important details. This was the pattern that had repeated 17 times. The aliens would save the people they could easily find. They would provide excellent medical care. They would make sure everyone was safe and comfortable. Then they would return to their diplomatic mission, satisfied that they had done a good job. None of them ever looked deeper. None of them ever asked if there might be someone else who needed help. None of them ever checked to see if their rescue was truly complete. Lisa was about to close Ryan's file and mark the test as another failure when Ben suddenly sat up straight at his station. "Wait," Ben said. "I'm reading something new." "What is it?" Karen asked. Ben pointed at his screen. One of the Zephyryan ships just broke away from the main group. It's heading toward Series 7. Lisa felt her heart skip a beat. She quickly pulled up the sensor data from the asteroid belt. A small Zephyryan scout ship was indeed moving away from the rescue operation. It was flying in a search pattern around the asteroid where Ryan's pod was hidden. "Are they looking for something specific?" Jake asked. "I think so," Ben replied. "Their scanners are running deep sweeps, much more detailed than their initial rescue scans." Lisa watched the small alien ship move closer and closer to Ryan's hiding spot. This had never happened before. Every other species had been satisfied with rescuing the obvious victims. The Zephyrians were the first to go looking for people they might have missed. "There," Ben said suddenly. "They found him." On Lisa's screen, she could see the Zephyryan scout ship moving toward Ryan's pod. The aliens had detected his weak distress signal. They were going to investigate. "This is new," Admiral Stone said quietly. "Completely new." The Zephyryan ship reached Ryan's pod and carefully brought it aboard. Lisa could hear radio chatter as the alien rescue team discovered the injured human inside. They sounded surprised. They had not expected to find anyone else. "They're taking him back to their main ship," Ben reported. "Medical teams are standing by." Jake was staring at his displays with amazement. In 20 years of testing, no species has ever gone back to look for survivors they might have missed. Lisa felt a strange excitement building in her chest. Maybe the Zephyrians really were different. Maybe they would be the first species to pass the test, but the test was not over yet. Ryan's rescue was just the beginning. The real challenge would come when he woke up and began the second phase of the operation. "How is Ryan's condition?" Karen asked. Ben checked his medical readouts. "Stable, but injured. The Zephyrians are taking good care of him. Their medical technology is very advanced." "Good," Karen said. "When he's ready, we'll move to Phase 2. Lisa nodded. Phase 2 would be much harder than the rescue. It would test something deeper than the aliens' emergency response skills. It would test their hearts. Captain Tony Brooks sat in the command chair of the hidden observation ship Silent Watch. His vessel was completely invisible to alien sensors, painted black and equipped with the most advanced stealth technology Earth had ever built. For 3 days, he had been watching the Zephyrian ship from a distance of only 50 kilometers. The aliens had no idea he was there. Tony watched his screens as the Zephyrian medical teams worked on Ryan Kelly. The injured human had been unconscious for 6 hours while alien doctors repaired the damage to his lungs and ribs. The Zephyrians had excellent medical equipment, much better than anything most humans had ever seen. But Tony was not watching the medical procedures. He was watching something much more interesting. Commander Veltar Nexus, the leader of the Zephyrian mission, had not left Ryan's bedside since the rescue. The alien commander was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large golden eyes. He wore a simple uniform without any decorations or medals. And for reasons Tony could not understand, he seemed personally concerned about one injured human he had never met before. "This is unusual," said Dr. Rachel Green, Tony's science officer. She was monitoring the alien ship's internal communications. Most species assign medical care to their doctors and go back to their regular duties. But their commander is staying with the patient. Tony nodded. In the 17 previous tests, no alien leader had ever shown personal interest in the rescued. Humans, they provided excellent care, but it was always professional and distant. The Zephyrians were acting differently. "What are they saying?" Tony asked. Rachel adjusted her translation equipment. "The commander keeps asking the medical team for updates. He wants to know when the human will wake up. He seems genuinely worried." On Tony's main screen, he could see Veltar sitting in a chair next to Ryan's medical bed. The alien commander was reading something on a tablet computer, but his golden eyes kept looking up to check on the human patient. "Sir?" said Lieutenant Paul Carter from the communications station. "I'm receiving a transmission from Luna Station. Dr. Lisa Carter wants to know if we're ready for Phase 2. Tony looked at his screens again. Ryan was still unconscious, but his vital signs were getting stronger. The Zephyrian doctors had done excellent work. "Tell Luna Station we're almost ready. As soon as the patient wakes up, we'll begin the next part of the test." The next part was going to be much harder than the rescue. Dr. Lisa Carter had designed Phase 2 to test something that most aliens failed completely. It would measure whether the Zephyrians cared more about following rules or helping people. 2 hours later, Ryan Kelly finally opened his eyes. Tony watched through hidden cameras as the human slowly sat up in the alien medical bed. Ryan looked around with confusion and fear, which was exactly what his training had taught him to do. He was supposed to act like a frightened civilian who had never seen aliens before. Veltar immediately stood up and walked to Ryan's bedside. The alien commander spoke in perfect English, which surprised Tony. Most species use translation machines. "Please, do not be afraid," Veltar said gently. "You are safe. My name is Commander Veltar Nexus of the Zephyrian Exploration Fleet. We found you in a damaged escape pod and brought you to our medical facility." Ryan played his part perfectly. He looked scared and confused. "Where am I? What happened to the New Denver? Are my friends okay?" "Your friends are all safe," Veltar assured him. "We rescued everyone from your mining ship. You were in a separate escape pod that was badly damaged. Our medical team has repaired your injuries." Tony was impressed with how gentle the alien commander sounded. Most species would have assigned this conversation to a junior officer or a translator, but Veltar was handling it personally. "I should not have missed you," Veltar continued, and his voice sounded sad. "Our initial scans failed to detect your escape pod. If one of my officers had not suggested a more thorough search, you would have died alone in space. This is not acceptable." Rachel looked up from her station. "Captain, Did you hear that? He's apologizing for almost missing Ryan. No species has ever done that before. Tony felt a strange excitement building in his chest. The Zephyrians were already behaving differently from every other alien species. But the real test was about to begin. Ryan took a deep breath and began the script that Dr. Lisa Carter had written for him. Commander, I have a medical condition that you need to know about. I have something called chronic enzyme deficiency syndrome. Without my daily medication, I will get very sick within 48 hours. This was the heart of Phase 2. Ryan's medical condition was real, but not dangerous. The medication he needed could be easily synthesized by any advanced alien civilization. But making the medicine would take time. It would delay the Zephyrian diplomatic mission by at least 3 days. Most alien species, when faced with this choice, would offer to take Ryan directly to Earth, where he could get his medication quickly. This would be logical and efficient. It would solve the problem without interfering with their diplomatic schedule. Vel-Tar listened carefully as Ryan explained his condition. The alien commander asked several technical questions about the medication and its chemical composition. Then he was quiet for a long moment. You said you need this medication within 48 hours? Vel-Tar finally asked. Yes, sir. If I don't take it, I'll get very sick. I might even die. Tony held his breath. This was the moment that had defined every previous test. This was where the aliens would choose between efficiency and compassion. Vel-Tar stood up and walked to a communication panel on the wall. He pressed a button and began speaking in his own language. Rachel quickly translated his words. He's talking to his science officers, she reported. He's ordering them to synthesize Ryan's medication immediately. He says their diplomatic mission will wait until the human is completely healthy. Tony felt his jaw drop. No alien species had ever made that choice before. They had all chosen diplomatic efficiency over individual human welfare. Wait, there's more, Rachel said. He's telling his crew that a single being's life is more valuable than any protocol or schedule. He says they will stay here as long as necessary to make sure Ryan is safe. On the screen, Vel-Tar returned to Ryan's bedside. We will make your medication now, he told the human. It will take approximately 3 days to synthesize and test it properly. Our diplomatic mission can wait. Nothing is more important than your health. Ryan looked surprised, which was not entirely acting. But sir, don't you have important business with Earth's government? I don't want to cause problems. Vel-Tar's golden eyes seemed to glow with warmth. Young human, let me tell you something about the Zephyrian people. We believe that every life in the universe has infinite value. Your life is not less important than our diplomatic mission. It is more important. Tony stared at his screens in amazement. After 17 failures, they had finally found an alien species that put individual welfare above everything else. For the next 3 days, Ryan Kelly lived aboard the Zephyrian ship while their scientists worked to create his medication. What happened during those 3 days surprised everyone who was watching from the hidden observation posts, like Dr. Rachel. Green had expected the aliens to treat Ryan like a patient or a guest. She thought they would give him a room, bring him food, and leave him alone while they worked on his medicine. Instead, something completely different happened. The Zephyrians treated Ryan like family. On the first morning, Commander Vel-Tar personally brought Ryan breakfast. The alien leader did not send a servant or a junior officer. He carried the food tray himself and sat down to eat with the human. This is unprecedented, Rachel reported to Captain Tony Brooks. The alien commander is having every meal with Ryan. They're talking for hours. Tony watched through the hidden cameras as Vel-Tar and Ryan shared their breakfast. The alien commander was asking Ryan about his life on Earth. He wanted to know about Ryan's family, his job, his hobbies. It was not an interrogation or a scientific interview. It was just two beings getting to know each other. What's even more interesting, Rachel continued, is that other crew members are joining them. Look at this. On the screen, Tony could see 3 other Zephyrians sitting at the table with Ryan and their commander. They were all eating together and talking like old friends. This had never happened in any previous test. Other alien species had been polite to the rescued humans, but they had always maintained professional distance. The Zephyrians seemed to genuinely enjoy Ryan's company. On Luna Station, Dr. Lisa Carter was watching the same scenes with amazement. She had designed the test to measure alien compassion, but she had never expected to see anything like this. They're not just following duty, she told Admiral Karen Stone. They actually care about him as a person. Karen nodded as she watched Ryan teaching a group of young Zephyrians how to play poker. The alien children were laughing as Ryan explained the rules. Their parents were watching with approval and amusement. Look at their body language, Lisa continued. When Ryan talks, they lean forward to listen. When he makes a joke, they laugh. When he looks sad, they look concerned. These are not the behaviors of beings who are just being polite. By the second day, Ryan had been given a tour of the entire ship. The Zephyrians showed him their engine room, their laboratories, their living quarters, and their recreation areas. They treated him like a welcome visitor, not like a rescued accident victim. This is amazing, said Dr. Ben Hughes from his monitoring station. They're sharing their technology freely. They're answering all of Ryan's questions. Most species would consider this a security risk, but the Zephyrians seemed to have no secrets from their human guest. When Ryan asked how their faster-than-light engines worked, they gave him a complete technical explanation. When he wondered about their home planet, they showed him pictures and videos. When he asked about their history, they told him stories. That went back thousands of years. On the third day, something happened that changed everything. Ryan's medication was finally ready. The Zephyrian scientists had successfully synthesized the complex molecules he needed. Their medical tests showed that the medicine was perfect and safe to use. Dr. Lisa Carter prepared for the final phase of the test. This was where Ryan would make his last request, the one that would determine whether the Zephyrians truly cared about individual happiness or only about following rules. Ryan is ready to begin the final sequence, she reported to Admiral Stone. Ryan found Commander Veltar in the ship's main laboratory, watching the final tests on the medication. The alien commander looked tired but satisfied. Your medicine is ready, Veltar told Ryan with a smile. Our tests show it is exactly what you need. You will be completely healthy within hours of taking it. Ryan nodded gratefully. Thank you, Commander. You and your people have been incredibly kind to me. It has been our pleasure, Veltar replied. You have brought joy to our ship. My crew will miss you when you return to Earth. This was Ryan's cue to begin the final test. Commander, I have a request that might seem unreasonable. Veltar raised one eyebrow. What is it? My daughter's birthday's in 5 days, Ryan said. She's turning 8 years old. I promised her I would be home for her party. I know it might interfere with your diplomatic mission, but is there any way you could take me back to Earth quickly? This was the ultimate test of alien priorities. The logical response would be to explain that diplomatic missions took precedence over personal celebrations. Most species would offer to send Ryan home after their official business was completed, or they would suggest that his daughter could celebrate her birthday a few days late. Veltar was quiet for a long moment. He seemed to be thinking very carefully about Ryan's request. Your daughter's birthday is important to you, the alien commander finally said. It's the most important thing in the world to me, Ryan replied honestly. Veltar nodded slowly. Then it is important to us as well. Dr. Rachel Green nearly fell out of her chair as she translated Veltar's next words. "We will take you home." Immediately, the alien commander said, "Our diplomatic mission can wait a few more days. A father should never miss his child's birthday." On Luna Station, Admiral Stone stared at her monitors in disbelief. In 20 years of testing, no alien species had ever put human family concerns above their own official duties. But Veltar was not finished talking. In fact, the alien commander continued, "I would like to attend your daughter's birthday party, if that would be acceptable. My crew and I would be honored to meet your family." Ryan's mouth fell open. This was not part of the script. No one had prepared him for this response. Before Ryan could answer, the ship's communication system came to life. A voice spoke in the Zephyrian language. Rachel quickly translated the message. "Captain Brooks," she said urgently, "they know we're here." On the main screen, Commander Veltar was looking directly at the hidden camera. His golden eyes seemed to stare right through the lens at the people watching from the stealth ship. "Commander Brooks," Veltar said in perfect English, "please, power down your cloaking device and join us. We need to talk." Captain Tony Brooks felt his heart stop as Commander Veltar spoke directly to his hidden ship. The alien leader was looking at the camera with calm, knowing eyes. There was no anger in his voice, no accusation, just patience. "How long have they known?" Tony asked Dr. Rachel Green. Rachel was frantically checking her instruments. "I don't know, sir. Our stealth systems are still working perfectly. They shouldn't be able to detect us." "But they obviously can," Tony replied. He made a decision. That would change everything. "All hands, stand down from stealth mode. Prepare for direct contact." The silent watch shimmered into visibility as its cloaking systems powered down. Tony could see the Zephyrian ship clearly now, floating peacefully. In space just 50 kilometers away. It was even more beautiful than it had looked on his monitors. "Open a communication channel," Tony ordered. The main screen flickered, and Commander Veltar's face appeared. Behind him, Tony could see Ryan Kelly standing with several other Zephyrians. Everyone looked calm and relaxed. "Captain Brooks," Veltar said with what might have been a smile, "thank you for revealing yourselves. We have been hoping to speak with you directly." Tony felt confused and off balance. "You've known we were here the whole time?" "From the moment you arrived, Veltar." "Confirmed. Your stealth technology is quite good, but not perfect. We detected the gravity distortion from your engines 3 days ago." "Then why didn't you say anything?" Veltar's expression became more serious. "Because we wanted to see how the test would end." Those words hit Tony like a physical blow. "You know about the test?" "Captain Brooks, we know about all of your tests. Every single one for the past 20 years. On Luna Station, Admiral Karen Stone was listening to the conversation with growing amazement. Dr. Lisa Carter sat beside her, staring at the screens. In shock. "This changes everything," Lisa whispered. Admiral Stone activated her communication system. "Commander Veltar, this is Admiral Stone of Earth Defense Command. I think we need to meet in person." "I agree completely," Veltar replied. "But first, I believe you should meet some friends of mine." The screen changed. Instead of showing just the Zephyrian ship, it now displayed a view of the space around Earth. Tony gasped as he saw what was there. 18 ships hung in the darkness. 18 different designs from 18 different species. They were all the aliens who had failed Earth's test over the past 20 years. "We have all been waiting," Veltar explained. "Waiting for humanity to understand the truth." 6 hours later, representatives from all 18 alien species gathered in Luna Station's main conference room. Admiral Stone sat at one end of a long table, trying to process what she was hearing. Commander Veltar sat across from her, flanked by representatives from the 17 other species. Tony recognized some of them from old files. There was Zex Annie Mora from the Crystalline Hegemony, Volanth Kane from the Void Runners, Krythak Zine from the Hive Collective. All of them had supposedly failed Earth's test. All of them were supposed to be gone, pursuing their diplomatic missions elsewhere in the galaxy. Let me make sure I understand this correctly, Admiral Stone said slowly. You're telling me that you all knew about our test from the beginning? Not just knew about it, replied Zexani Mora, her crystalline body shimmering with inner light. We created it. Dr. Lisa Carter leaned forward. That's impossible. We designed the test ourselves. The mining ship emergency, the hidden escape pod, the medical condition. Those were our ideas. Were they? Asked Volanth Kane. His species looked like tall, thin shadows with glowing white eyes. Or did we plant those ideas in your minds? Think carefully about how your testing program began. Lisa felt her memory shifting as she tried to remember the early days of the testing program. Who had first suggested the mining ship scenario? Where had the idea for the hidden escape pod come from? The more she thought about it, the less certain she became. You manipulated us, she said. We guided you, Veltar corrected gently. We needed to know if the stories about humanity were true. What stories? Admiral Stone asked. Krythak Zen spoke for the first time. His species communicated through chemical signals that were translated into words by his suit's computer. For 50 years, we have heard tales about a species called humanity. Stories that seemed too good to be true. Such as, Tony prompted. Stories about humans who would sacrifice their own lives to save strangers, said Zexani Mora. Stories about human soldiers who would risk everything to rescue a single enemy prisoner. Stories about human doctors who would treat anyone who needed help, regardless of politics or species. Volanth Kane continued the explanation. Stories about humans who would share their food with hungry aliens, even when they had barely enough for themselves. Stories about human children who would befriend anyone, no matter how different they looked. We thought these stories were myths, added another representative. No species could be that consistently selfless. It had to be propaganda or wishful thinking. Commander Veltar stood up and walked to the window that showed Earth spinning slowly in space. But we had to know for sure, so we devised a test. The question was not whether humans could be kind when it was easy, explained Zexani Mora. Any species can do that. The question was whether humans would choose kindness over efficiency, even when it cost them personally. Admiral Stone began to understand. So you created scenarios where we would have to choose between following rules and helping people. Exactly, said Volanth Kane. Every human we encountered during our supposed failed tests showed the same pattern. When faced with a choice between protocol and compassion, humans consistently chose compassion. Dr. Lisa Carter felt tears forming in her eyes. Even when it seemed to hurt your diplomatic missions. Even when it seemed to cost you strategic advantages, added Krythak Zen. Even when it appeared to put your own people at risk. Commander Veltar turned back to face the humans. Do you know what we discovered? In all our testing, we never met a single human who put efficiency above empathy. Not one. Your mining ship scenarios always included hidden victims that were hard to find, said Zexani Mora. Every human rescue team went back to search for missing people, even when logic said the rescue was complete. Your medical emergencies always required personal sacrifice from human caregivers, continued Volanth Kane. Every human doctor we tested worked beyond exhaustion to help patients they had never met. Your family emergency scenarios always conflicted with important human duties, added Krythak Zen. Every human we tested chose family over protocol. Admiral Stone felt a strange mixture of pride and humility. And the other species in the galaxy are not like you? Commander Veltar. Said simply, they are logical, they are efficient, they are fair, they are just. But they are not kind the way humans are kind. We needed teachers, explained Zexani Mora. The galaxy is vast and full of intelligent species. But intelligence is not enough. We needed to learn how to care. So the Galactic Council sent us. To find you, said Volanth Kane. Not as conquerors or subjects, but as students. Ryan Kelly, who had been quietly listening to the entire conversation, finally spoke up. So my daughter's birthday party? Commander Veltar smiled. Will be attended by representatives from 18 different species, if that is acceptable to you and your family. Admiral Stone looked around the room at the gathered aliens. What happens now? Now, said Commander Veltar, humanity teaches the galaxy how to have a heart.